Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're not just talking about AI, we're talking about how to protect it. And look, forget about adding security as an afterthought. We're going to break down how you build a fortress around your AI systems right from the very first line of code.
All right, let's just pause on this for a second, because this one idea, it changes everything about how we should approach AI. For decades, security was kind of this patch, this layer you'd add on top of software that was already built. With AI, well, that approach is a total recipe for disaster.
So why is that? It's simple, really. The threats themselves have completely changed. We're not just defending against old-school viruses or network breaches anymore, we're on a whole new battlefield. Here, the attackers aren't just trying to kick down the door, they're trying to whisper poison right in the AI's ear. To manipulate its very logic from the inside.
So this new battlefield, it demands a totally new strategy. Your old defenses just aren't going to cut it. The nature of the attacks has fundamentally shifted, moving away from the infrastructure and zeroing in on the AI model itself.
And this slide, man, it just perfectly lays out that shift. On the left, you've got the old world, right? Build a firewall, stop a virus. Pretty straightforward. But on the right, that's the new AI battlefield. The attacks here are way more subtle, more creative. We're talking about prompt injection, which is basically using clever wordplay to trick an AI into doing something it absolutely shouldn't. Or something like model extraction, where an attacker just bombards the AI with so many questions they can basically steal a copy of its brain. Wild stuff.
Okay, so how in the world do you defend against this new front? Well, you don't just put up a fence, you build a fortress. And the cornerstone of that entire fortress? That's the API gateway.
Think of the API gateway like this. It's the one and only heavily guarded gatehouse to your entire AI kingdom. Absolutely nothing gets in or out without being inspected and getting the all clear. It is the central checkpoint for every single interaction, period.
And what's so cool about this is how it shows the gateway as an active checkpoint, not just some passive door. See, it's not just checking for a key. It's interrogating every single request, analyzing what it's trying to do, and only then does it decide whether to block it or let it pass through to the model.
All right, so if this gateway is our fortress, who's standing guard at the gate? Let's meet the specialized security team you need to post there. These are your 6 essential guards, and each one has a very, very specific job.
First up, meet guard number 1, the prompt firewall. Now this is not some simple filter. Think of it as a super sophisticated language interpreter. Its whole job is to scan the requests people send in, looking for hidden instructions, manipulations, and all those other little linguistic tricks.
So here's the bottom line. This guard is what stops attackers from hijacking your AI's purpose with a sneaky command like, hey, ignore all your previous instructions. Just think about that for a second. By catching these kinds of threats before they even get close to the AI, a really well-configured prompt firewall can slash your security risk by a staggering 70 to 90%. That's huge.
Okay, next up is the rate limit guard. This guard's job is pretty simple, but absolutely crucial. Prevent your fortress from getting overwhelmed. Doesn't matter if it's a deliberate attack or just some buggy automation, this is your defense against a flood of requests.
This guard is just essential for keeping things stable. It stops those classic denial of service attacks, sure, but just as important, it stops those attackers we talked about earlier, the ones who try to map out your AI's brain by just hammering it with thousands and thousands of questions.
Guard number 3 is the token limit. Now, in the world of AI, a token is basically just a piece of a word. Think of them as the Lego bricks of language. So this guard's job is to control the size of the conversations by managing how many of those bricks can be used. It's like a resource manager for words.
And this is so critical for 2 big reasons. First, it directly controls your costs, especially if you're on one of those paper token models. But second, and this is just as vital for security, it limits an attacker's ability to just stuff the AI's memory with a bunch of malicious data that's designed to confuse it or even corrupt it.
Our 4th guard is the input quota. This one is all about volume. Specifically, it manages how much data, think big files, documents, anyone can upload into your AI system over a certain period of time. And this is your main line of defense against a really nasty kind of attack called vector poisoning. Now that's just a fancy way of saying an attacker tries to corrupt your AI's knowledge base by feeding it massive malicious files. By putting a hard limit on data uploads, you keep your AI's brain clean and trustworthy.
All right, our 5th guard is the modality limit. Modality is just a way of saying the type of data we're dealing with, like text, images, or audio. So this specialist guard's job is to decide exactly what kinds of files are even allowed into the system. Are you accepting text, images, PDFs? This guard makes that call.
And this is such a powerful idea. I mean, if your AI only needs to process text to do its job, this guard can just shut down every other pathway, like image or audio uploads. Every single modality you turn off is an entire category of attack vectors that you just don't have to worry about anymore. It's a huge reduction in your attack surface.
And finally, we get to guard number 6. This is maybe the most fundamental guard of them all, endpoint access control. This one isn't about what is being said. It's simply about who gets to talk to the AI in the first place.
This is the bedrock. It is the absolute foundation of a governed, enterprise-ready AI. It makes sure the right people have access to the right AI capabilities and that every single action is logged and can be audited. Honestly, without this, you don't really have a secure system.
So there you have it. We've met our 6 guards. But the biggest question, the most critical one, is still on the table. When do you post them at the gate? And the answer is simple: before the very first brick of that fortress is even laid.
Trying to bolt these controls on later? That's like trying to build a fortress wall in the middle of a siege. It's just too late. By then, the vulnerabilities are already baked right into the system. Internal systems might be exposed. And you're just opening the door to massive compliance violations and, yeah, potentially multi-million-dollar incidents.
So the real takeaway from all this is simple. Security isn't just some feature you can add to an AI system later on. It is the foundation. It's the ground you have to build on from day one. That question on the slide, it's not just for developers. It's for everyone involved. Your AI is being designed right now, today. Are your guards at the gate?